Hi, Sydney Sweeney here. There's a lot of vicious rumors going around on this app saying that I'm on this press tour lying about having been a tour guide at Universal. That's not nice. I was a tour guide. Here's a photo of me, Sydney Sweeney doing the tour. Here's another one. I was very much a guide for 6 years. And then here's another one of me and all my friends who are also tour guides. Words wound. It would be absolutely insane to make up such a weird niche lie about what I did for 6 years of my life. So anyway, Sydney Sweeney out.
Hi, my name is Taylor Clayton, and I will be applying for this job. What job, you may ask? Universal Studios tour guide, of course. Am I qualified? Absolutely not. Oh, I'm hired? Oh, excellent. All right. Have you ever exaggerated on your resume? Or even lied about it completely? Of course you have. We all have. But have you ever had the entire internet call you out on that? Probably not. But Sydney Sweeney has. And that's what today's video is about. Sydney Sweeney. But not about the usual stuff we talk about. No, because, the whole internet has something to say about Sydney Sweeney right now. I want to talk about something very funny. Not that serious. But the internet took it very seriously. Sydney Sweeney lying about working at Universal Studios as a tour guide. Did she lie? I don't know. Some people say she did, some people say she didn't. Will we ever know? Probably not. But I'm here to talk about it because I find it very interesting. So here we go. Alright, Sydney Sweeney. If you like her, if you don't, I don't really care. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're just here to talk about her and Universal Studios and whatever the hell is going on with that. So let's dive on in. Where should we start? Kind of want an espresso martini right now. I don't know why that kind of feels like the vibe. I wonder if I can get one. Pause. I'm gonna ask my boyfriend. Hey Blake? Could I get an espresso martini? Is that possible? Do we have stuff for an espresso martini? Could you make me one real fast? I guess we'll find out. Okay. Sydney Sweeney in the story of Universal Studios. During her press for Anyone But You, Sydney Sweeney gave an interview with Women's Health magazine during November 2023. She discussed her humble beginnings and what she had to do to help her family out to support her acting ambitions. This included helping make extra money by babysitting, cleaning restaurant bathrooms, and also being a tour guide at Universal Studios. People on the internet immediately clocked that. They said, wait a minute, you did what now? You were a what? A tour guide, you say? Okay. I hear my espresso martini being made. People started to discuss how it's notoriously difficult to become a Universal Studios tour guide. It's not something you just stumble into as a teen job, basically. She said that she did this during 2016 after high school. She then did an interview with Kelly Clarkson on The Kelly Clarkson Show during December 2023. She seemed kind of evasive about the question. People also noticed that. Kelly Clarkson asked her to recite the tram speech for the tour guides, and she said no, she was not going to do that.
I was a huge theme park person. My family and all of our friends would go to Universal all the time, to the point that I've memorized the Universal Studios tour. And
oh, like the tram?
Yes.
Oh my God, I love
That's my favorite thing ever.
Oh, I love
I
the
can
tram.
go there and just recite everything, mouth every word they say.
I
mean, like every high school kid needed a job.
Yeah.
And I was taking anything that I could get.
Yeah. Do you remember the speech from the tram?
I'm not reciting that speech.
She said absolutely not. Yes, I do, but I bow out.
Then in January 2024, Sean Evans asked her about being a Universal Studios tour guide, comparing again to his experience working at an amusement park, and she said she was only there for a little bit before she booked a role on Sharp Objects.
Is it true that you briefly worked as a tour guide at Universal Studios? And if so, did you have a favorite tour fun fact or point of interest? I used to do the architecture tour of the Chicago River and Lake Michigan, so I share a natural kinship in the profession.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was a struggling actor in high school, and I had to pay all my own bills because my mom
I mean, I love you, Mom. I love you so much. But yeah, I'd pay my own phone bill, car insurance, everything, gas. And I'm so glad she did, because I've learned how to budget and save my money and know what's important in life. I love tour guides at Universal. I memorized the entire thing, and so I was there for a little bit, and then I actually booked Sharp Objects.
The internet went crazy. They were like, she is lying. This is not true. It cannot be true. We do not believe her. We'll get into that.
I saw a video, and the stitches are also, I can't stitch it, about how Sydney Sweeney did an interview recently and said that she was a tour guide at Universal Studios. And then in subsequent interviews on Hot Ones and the Clay show, they asked her about it. And she was like, weird and evasive. And so I went and looked up the Hot Ones one, and yeah, she like fully like skirts over the questions. Like, yeah, I really like the tour. And then I got this other job, and just like doesn't answer the question. And she's lying. I don't want, like, that's such a weird thing to say, but like, it's also a weird thing to lie about. I understand why you would lie about having to have a job if you didn't have to have a job, but choosing to lie about being a tour guide at Universal Studios is like a very weird thing for so many reasons. First of all, I was a tour guide at Universal for 7 years. Okay, it was the majority of my 20s. And there are so many things about that job, but it is not an easy job to get. It's not something you can just like waltz in off the street and be like, I would like a job, please. Like, oh, maybe she was just like a seasonal thing, and like you wouldn't know. How would anybody know if she was there or not? First of all, lifers. There were people when I was working there who had been tour guides since I was born. They still work there, okay? There are people who have been doing this forever. They know everyone who has come in and out of that building. They love to bill it as a foot into the entertainment industry, which it is not, okay? Let's just be honest. But because they love to bill it that way, if someone who was ever a tour guide makes it in the industry, they claim it. They hold on to it, they claim it, they use it as marketing. They will not shut the fuck up about it. If Sydney Sweeney did even one tour, if she made it through all of the like getting the job, doing the class, passing the tests, was sitting in uniform on a tram with her little mic, did one tour, and then got a call from her agent, was like, oh my God, you guys, I booked a job, bye. They would claim that. That would be lore. People would still be talking about it. Are you kidding? No. It's such a weird thing to lie about.
Is it true that you briefly worked as a tour guide at Universal Studios?
No, it's not true. She's lying. If you saw Sydney Sweeney's Hot Ones interview, and if you've seen some of her other interviews, like with Kelly Clarkson, at times she has sort of suggested or claimed to have been a Universal Studios tour guide. And you might be thinking, Taylor, how could you possibly know that? You've never met Sydney Sweeney. Yes, that's true. Never met her. But I have worked for the Universal Studios tour department for many years. Years on the classic tour, and as a VIP guide showing people around the studio backlot on foot and in the facilities and all that. So yeah, qualified to say this. No hate to her. I don't know her personally. I don't know why she's choosing to kind of fib about this. But Sydney Sweeney has never been a Universal tour guide. Watching her dance around questions about this and never give a straight answer is kind of crazy, considering she's the one that volunteered that information. That verifiably false information. It's not just like a summer job that any teenager can get. She would know that had she actually worked there. Again, no hate to her. I don't know her. It's just an odd thing to lie about. I assume she got kind of taken out of context and then was asked about it a bunch of times and then decided to just kind of go with it. Like, girl, I hear you. I know you say you love the tour and that like you've been on it a million times. If you really do love it and you love the tour guides, it's kind of insulting to claim that you've done our job when we all know you haven't.
Is it true that you briefly worked as a tour guide at Universal Studios?
Yes! All right, I finally can weigh in on one of these little, like, controversies. Was Sydney Sweeney ever a tour guide? Absolutely not. How do I know this? Because I used to be a tour guide and am currently friends with several actual tour guides who are working at the tour and have been for, like, 20, 30 years. Mine is, it's a really hard job to get, and once you do, everybody knows everybody. It becomes this community. It was like, when I was there, it felt like an extension of college. We all partied together, everybody knew everybody, everyone was dating everybody, not me, because I'm an old married lady, but it had very much had this community feel to it, and still does in a lot of ways. For someone to come out and say that they worked there when they actually didn't is very bizarre. So why did she lie? Here's what I think happened. I think maybe she made an offhanded comment. Maybe because if you notice in the interview, she doesn't actually double down and say I was a tour guide. She changed the subject. She got visibly uncomfortable and changed the subject. So you could tell she knew she was lying, but she didn't fully come right out and say, oh no, that's not really true. I didn't mean to say that. Or I don't know where that came from. I think she was nervous. I think maybe what happened was she maybe said it offhand, maybe made reference to something about it and people ran with it. And she maybe isn't experienced enough with the press or in interview situations to correct it. Maybe she was embarrassed or uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I'm sure with as much attention as this is getting, because all the tour guides, the thousands and thousands of tour guides that have existed since the Universal Studio Tour began, are coming out of the woodwork to say, no, you don't get to claim this very prestigious title that we all earned and put in the hours and the work for. You don't get to claim that you did that when you actually didn't do it. So the tour guides are holding her accountable.
My espresso martini. The real question is, why do I care? I don't. At all. I just like to talk about stuff. And I thought it was interesting. Also, Sydney Sweeney is, like, you know, in the news right now for Euphoria, so why not talk about this? So, first, the history of the Universal Studios. It was founded in 1912 by Carl Lammel. He bought the Taylor estate Yes, for about $3,500. In March 15, 1915, Universal Studios opened as the largest production company as Universal City. And this production company pioneered the studio tour. It is now operated under NBC Universal and is owned by Comcast. It is located on a 415-acre studio backlot. What's exciting with the studio tour is that you can actually see movies being filmed. I actually tried to go to one once whenever I went to LA, the one time I went to LA. But I read online that it wasn't a good time to go because I was going in May, and they said that's just not a good time to go because there's not a lot of movies being filmed, so there's not much to see. You can still do all the rides and everything, like rides, but like experiences, but there's just not as much to see. There's not many people around, so I decided not to, but I would like to go one day. Probably won't see Sydney Sweeney there, but you know, still would be worth it. No. My dog wants to come in, but if he comes in, he'll just start snoring. Oh. Just bust on through. Okay, no snoring though. If you snore, you have to go. Okay? If you snore, you have to go. Let's see how long this lasts. Okay, now there's a cat in here too. Oh my goodness. When the original tour opened, it was 25 cents plus a optional 5-cent option for lunch. I'm not sure what it was, but that'd be probably pretty good. Oh man, those prices are crazy. The featured attractions were a Wild West show, a collapsing wood bridge, and a flash flood. The first tour was in 1915. They decided to let people see what went on during a movie production. They eventually stopped in 1920 once movies turned from silent films to talkies because it became too much of a hindrance to have people talking and roaming around when sound was being produced. They started allowing buses to come back through during the 1950s because during this time Hollywood was on a decline due to TV shows and TV productions taking off again. They were starting to lose money, so they wanted a way to get people back into Hollywood, get back into basically the production of it all, so they decided to start charging buses to come through. They even gave bus drivers scripts to read along the way as they went through. They tasked Harper Gall and Barry Upson to work on the tram, and Randall Gall to work on the visitor center to create a more immersive, full, permanent experience for the tour. And on June 17, 1964, they officially had the actual Universal Studios tour as we know it. They had a temporary trailer that sold tickets on Lakersham Boulevard in LA, and you could buy your tickets there and then go to the Universal Studios and do the tour. The early tour lasted about 90 minutes, and from the first year, they had over 38,000 guests come throughout the year. They've seen many expansions over the year. They've added different things like Jaws, King Kong, the Mummy Experience. Each year they add like different kind of big blockbuster things. It hasn't changed too much over the past 20 years, but they do add more things every couple of years. In 2014, the collapsible bridge was decommissioned, but it is still there, and so it's just kind of growing back into nature, so that's a fun thing to see. I thought that was really cool. In 1990, they expanded to Florida, and that's actually the Universal Studios Park that's there. I've been to that one, which is very cool. It is more of an amusement park, though. I went to Disney and Universal during that weekend, and looking in hindsight, I wish I would have just gone to just Universal because it was so cool there. Disney was kind of meh, except for Hollywood Studios. I had a good time there, but everything else was kind of meh. That was also like 10 years ago, so I don't know, but yeah, meh. Today, Universal Studios acts as a premier production company with over 30 sound stages and a worldwide operator of theme parks with locations in Hollywood, Florida, Japan, Singapore, Beijing, and many more. Over the years, they've had certain video hosts while the tour goes. They have had Ron Howard, Whoopi Goldberg, Jimmy Fallon was doing it for a very long time. They've kind of scaled back on that. They kind of did a little bit too much with the Fallon. People kind of either loved it or hated it. A lot of people hated it, but they've kind of scaled that back a bit. Oh, and Carson Daly was an unofficial video host. In 1989, they introduced CDs for the tour guides so they can give their voices a break. And in 2000, they introduced DVD players. So they try to kind of update it with the times. The hiring process. Also, these hiring processes are based off what I found online. So once again, my grain of salt. Take it. Here you go. There's an audition process. It involves callbacks, multiple rounds, 3 to 4 rounds sometimes, a one-on-one interview. There's a monologue part. You need to basically do a comedic read. Prior background there, but prefer you have experience and a interest in acting. Public speaking also goes a long way. Have a strong knowledge of movies, cinema, etc. Good availability for peak seasons. One perk of Universal Studios is that you can work with your schedule for auditioning. A lot of actors like to do this job so they can go on auditions and stuff. I have heard that it is less flexible than it used to be. Before, it was very easy to like work with your schedule for auditions. I heard that's not as much the case anymore. But that's based off of TikToks I've seen, so. The training, that is where they get you. It is a 3-week intensive. You are in the classroom for a bit. You are on the tram for a bit. You are literally doing group training. You're doing one-on-one training. It is a lot. You are going through it for sure.
Let's talk about the training that you have to go through to become a studio tour guide at Universal Studios Hollywood. The training was 3 weeks long. So half of the day you were trained inside the class. In that time, guides would talk about current events, current TV shows, talk about maybe parts of the script that they wanted to work on and things like that. That was usually when you had the time with the managers of the studio tour during that in-class time. That time was always really fun because it gave us time to kind of collaborate and talk about things other than just the studio tour script. Handwriting is terrible for me to be a teacher. On the other part of the day, we were actually on the tram training and going through the script. So there would be, 6, 7 guides in each part of the tram. By the way, training for us was about 20 people. I think all of us got through it except for 1 or 2. I think one person had to kind of retest or something like that. But the tram guides are split up between the different trams, and they would have a trainer with them. And you would just drive through the route, and you would just go through the script while you were doing that. So they might say, Angela, it's your turn. And I'd go up there and I'd say the part of the script for the area that we were in. And then they would have another guide switch, and we just did that repeatedly. Now, when I was trained to be a tour guide, they allowed you to go and watch the other guides' tours, like the people who were already tour guides' tours. I've heard that they don't let you do that anymore. That they actually are like pretty adamant that you cannot check out the other guides' tours. Believe it or not, the first time that you do the entire tour is when you were on the tram on your first day. And then when it came time for our testing was pretty much the same thing. They had us all sitting on the tram. We went through the tram route, and you wouldn't know. It was kind of randomly picked when you would do a specific time of the tour, and they would just call you up and do that part of the tour with all the energy, enthusiasm, and everything that you would do normally on the tram. Okay.
Oh, also you have a tram driving test because you need to be able to drive. Yeah. That's where they get me. Like, parking. Whew, I cannot park to save my life. I mean, I if I had to save my life, maybe, but anyway. Also, you have to memorize like a 200, 300 page script. It's quite a lot.
So let's talk a little bit about the studio tour script.
Script is huge. It's like 200 or 300 pages. I don't really remember exactly how much it is. But that book is chock full of history about Universal Studios Hollywood, about what's been filmed there, about how movie magic works, where you talk about special effects and the facades, the buildings, all of that kind of stuff is in that book. And they give you so much because you're going to be out on that tram. The tours are 45 minutes to an hour long, and you don't really know what's going to happen once you get out there, right? You might be on the tram and there's a tram transfer in front of you, or you're backed up and there's 3 or 4 trams stalling before they go into the next attraction, and you have to be ready to still entertain the guests, to still give valuable information, and to still present that you know what you're talking about. So they have to give you way more information than you're normally going to use on a tour so that you are prepared for that. Sometimes you are just in this random spot where you don't really have anything to see or anything right around you to talk about, and you have to come up with some great information. And so that is why they have so much script for you to go through. So there's 2 different types of information that you're given during the tour. There's mandatory information, and those are things that you have to say on every tour. Things like the safety announcements, the closing. There's certain parts of the tour that you have to talk about. Those mandatories do sometimes change depending on what is filming on the lot or what has filmed on the lot recently. So when you get tested throughout the year, that is what you are going to have to make sure to have. And if you don't do those mandatories, it could cause you some trouble. But other than that, you're able to make the studio tour your own. So it's kind of cool because you can focus on things that really speak to you. Like if you love horror movies, if you love classic movies, you can take that script and really highlight that throughout your tour. If you're more into music videos, there are a ton of music videos that have filmed on the studio tour. So you can bring that up as you go throughout. You can really make it your own as long as you get those mandatories.
People were saying that it was unlikely that Sydney Sweeney could do all of that, but I mean, she is an actress, so I don't think those things are crazy. I don't think that's the reason that she didn't do it. There are other reasons that I'm not sure that she... I don't know. I'll say my opinions for later.
Look, I don't know why Sydney Sweeney is lying about being a Universal tour guide, but I think the best part of this app right now is all of the actual Universal tour guides that are coming on this app to talk about how there's no way that she could be qualified. They're saying things like, you have to audition. Babe, she had to audition for Euphoria, too. I think she could make it somehow, but, like, respect.
Famous people have worked there. Wayne Brady worked there as a character performer before his fame. Josh Badam, the director of Saturday Night Fever, is listed as a notable alum of the guide position. Michael Ovitz, a former famous Hollywood executive and agent, is also listed as one of their alums. Michael Hitchcock, he was known for his work in Best in Show and Mad TV, also one of their alums. Jack Wagner, known for General Hospital. Anne-Marie Johnson, actress in Heat of the Night. According to Reddit, Mario Lopez is an adjacent worker. Take it with a grain of salt. And then also Sydney Sweeney, allegedly. Yeah, depends on who you ask. One other thing I saw crazy that people were doing were they were comparing Sydney Sweeney possibly lying about working at Universal to another person who lied about working at Universal Studios. And that is the infamous Casey Anthony. Which is insane to compare her to because lying on your resume a little bit or exaggerating is not even comparable to lying to the police officers about a job that you no longer have during a murder investigation. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm going to talk about that because I just find it fascinating to connect the two stories. Also, I somehow had a Mandela effect on myself where I could have sworn that I saw body cam footage or security footage of Casey Anthony walking the police officers through Universal and showing them all the offices, waving at people, the whole blah, 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 while she was, like, lying. And it turns out that I misremembered that. It wasn't true. I don't know. I can't find the footage anywhere. I saw on Reddit that somebody said, oh, I'm pretty sure it's from this documentary. And I said, oh, okay. I'll go find that documentary. I bought it on YouTube. It was a recreation. It wasn't. Nope. That's not what it was. I also never saw the documentary before, so that's not what it was from. I think I just saw a really good true crime person tell the story, and I just visualized in my head because my imagination is just so good that I saw it in my head. So I bought it for $4.99. So now I will definitely be talking about it. Yeah, so Casey Anthony. So Casey Anthony was accused of murdering her daughter in 2008. But we're not going to talk about that because, there's so many better true crime things that can give you a better scope of that story. I'm just going to talk about the Universal stuff. She lied about working there still. She said she was working there currently in 2008, but she had in fact not worked there since 2006. She even took the detectives to her office on a little tour. Even though they were very much aware that she no longer worked there, they just wanted to see how far she would take it. She told the detectives that she dropped her daughter off at the nanny on June 9, 2008, and then she went to the office at Universal Studios. She told the office about colleagues that no longer worked there. She could not describe certain things. She tried to show them a nanny's apartment that did not exist at all. And she gave them a tour of the office on July 16, 2008. She walked them to the security desk. They said, we do not have a record of you. She said, no, I totally work here. What are you talking about? Supervisor just finally waved them through because the police were with her. She was waving at people. She was, saying, hi, how are you? Good to see you again. How was the weekend? Oh my God, yeah. Oh, man. Not getting any shorter, huh? Is it already Monday? Crazy. Like, literally just being so casual about it. Finally gets to the end of the fucking hallway and looks over to them and says, no, I don't work here. End of the line. They literally were like, oh, they had no idea how far she was going to take it. She literally, end of the line, end of the hallway. She was taking a lie. Insane. This lie about working at Universal actually led to her arrest for obstruction of justice. So that's what they first brought her in on. This had nothing to do with Sydney Sweeney. It's just people on the internet were saying, oh, well, you know who lied about working at Universal? Ooh. And I just wanted to talk about it. Also because I spent $4.99 on a documentary because I somehow Mandela affected myself. So now we're talking about that. So yeah, Universal. Ooh. So after all this happened, after every TikToker, tour guide got all upset because of stolen valor, because somebody was lying about working at Universal, and it is a sacred position, the Hollywood Reporter came out with an article claiming that she was actually telling the truth this entire time. In February 2024, Chris Gardner came out with an article of the Hollywood Reporter claiming that Sydney Sweeney was telling the truth this entire time, and she had indeed worked at Universal Studios as a tour guide. He recounted the entire internet drama, bringing up specific videos, name-checking people, which I thought was kind of crazy. I don't know. He, literally was, quoting people. Just kind of seemed a little, just tossing people at the wolves. But I digress. They investigated themselves, and they found that she did indeed work there for a short amount of time. She had one orientation shift and one training shift. Case closed. She worked there. She was hired June 12, 2016 and quit June 18, 2016. Month and 2 days. Really putting her time there. It literally says that she worked there 2 shifts. I don't think that counts. I'm so sorry. I don't think that counts as working there. If you said you worked there for a month, okay, sure, whatever. Even then I'm kind of 2 shifts? No, that doesn't count. But the entire internet, every article I found, oh, she was telling the truth, she was telling the truth. Was she? Because 2 shifts is not working there. Because like I said, it's a 3-week training course extensive. You're not even on the floor yet. That doesn't count. But I digress. Also, article does talk about this. She said in her Hot Ones interview that she had to leave for Sharp Objects. Sharp Objects didn't start filming until 2017, so I think she might have just gotten whatever she left for wrong, because that wouldn't really add up. But whatever. That's fine. I really don't care about that. I exaggerated on my resume too, so I really not gotta get her for that one. But what I am gonna get them for is that the Hollywood Reporter said that, oh, we investigated ourselves. There are no sources. They cite absolutely nothing. They just say, we investigated. And every article I've looked at about this cites the Hollywood Reporter. So I am just confused who they talk to. Because every TikToker says who worked there, no, nobody knows that she worked there. So I'm just confused who exactly said that she worked there. And if she did work there, I also feel like an orientation and a training shift is not that much. But, I'm also not against lying on your resume. Whatever. Who cares? Not that big of a deal. But I just think it's funny. They're like, she was telling the truth. I'm like, was she?
This is a response video I found to the Hollywood Reporter article.
I worked at Universal Studios Hollywood as a tour guide from 2014 to 2019. Here's my name tag. Sydney Sweeney is lying. About being a tour guide, at least. So the Hollywood Reporter investigated and found out that Sweeney is in fact telling the truth about working at Universal. And I believe that. But her hire date's June 12, 2016, and her departure date, July 18, 2016, that's barely long enough to go through training at all. And it says she was hired on June 12, 2016, after which she attended an orientation shift followed by a training shift. Tour guide training takes weeks. So there's no way she was a tour guide. I even went back and checked the tour guide schedule for those dates, just to make sure. And the newest hires were always at the very bottom of the schedule. And the people who were at the very bottom of the schedule, a lot of them were my really good friends. I made a lot of good friends in that training class. And she is not on there. I'm also still part of a tour guide Facebook group. And guys, the number of memes they're making and comments they're making about this, because none of us worked with her. There's just no way. She probably worked somewhere in the park. There's no way she was a tour guide. I don't know why she's lying about this. It's a weird thing to lie about. But yeah, I promise you, I was a tour guide during that time, and someone would have said something by now if they remembered her at all. And it would have been highly unlikely that I would not have met her, because that's when I was working there all the time. It's the weirdest thing to lie about.
The only people I can find who say that she worked there are random people on TikTok. So take that how you want to. You can believe it or you don't have to. Up to you.
Hey guys, I'm here to address the rumors about Sydney Sweeney. As someone who actually worked with her, I just wanted to come out here and say it. We actually worked at Universal Studios together for that week that she was working there. Yes, it was only a week, but technically she was still an employee and she was still getting paid. We actually gave a few tours together, so yeah, I don't know why people are calling her a liar. I don't know why Universal Studios came out saying that she was in fact not an employee of them. I think they're probably just doing publicity for another thing. So, you know, that's just the universe that we live in. People will do anything for publicity. Also, Sydney was super nice. She used to compliment me on my handmade earrings all the time and my photography.
Get ready with me as I tell you about my experience with Sydney Sweeney as a Universal Studios tour guide. Also, I want to say nothing. All the people saying she didn't work there, guys, I didn't realize she worked there until I saw the Hot Wings interview. And it's because I didn't put two and two together, okay? Because the girl on my tour was like really cool. She was very pretty. She was blonde. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was Sydney Sweeney. This was like early October, so this is just before Halloween. So they were setting up for that. And I feel like she wasn't like the most incredible tour guide, but like I don't really pay that much attention to the personalities of tour guides, if that makes sense. I do remember her going like the extra mile when we were doing the Jaws attraction part. Like I really felt like she was really good there. But this is where things start to go sideways at the end of the tour. So I'm like getting off the tram thing and like Sydney, the tour guide, basically grabs her iced latte that was like on this little cup holder. As she turns into me like this. I tell you girl, I nearly cried. I had my new Adidas Superstars on. She had spilled her iced latte on my new sneakers. But she was like super apologetic about it, and honestly I feel like I might have overreacted and it could have been me really bumping into her. Basically leave this tour in tears. Like actually I was really so upset. It's like, it's fine, we'll go get some new ones. So we end up getting some new ones for me. Looking back, I'm like so disappointed I did not get a photo with her.
But she was technically hired, according to this Hollywood Reporter article. So I guess we can give her that. I would not count that as a job though. But I digress. I guess the jobs I've had, I literally just say, oh, I worked there for a day, but I don't put that on my resume because it's not my job. I don't know, it's very murky. It's silly, it's stupid, it's dumb.
And the only footage of her there is from Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. And she is definitely just there as a guest. She is not working there. I repeat, she is not working there. So, I don't know. There is no footage of her anywhere on the internet or photos of her there working.
At Horror Nights, and you wouldn't believe which celebrity we saw. Debating if this was Sydney Sweeney. Oh my, it was her.
I did find a video with the YouTuber Scandy where she did an interview with an anonymous source, and they said that she was just an entertainment escort, where she would help people get around from point A to point B, basically. She would help characters get into their costumes and that kind of thing.
So she was what we call an entertainment assistant or a character escort. Basically, they're like the person that just helps the characters get into their big costumes and watch out the parts, make sure they're okay.
Okay, so I don't get it. Why wouldn't she just say that she did that?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a big deal to be a foreign actor.
Okay, so I don't get it. Why wouldn't she just say that she did that?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a big deal to be a foreign actor.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's a little bit more glamorous than like putting a Minion's shoes on or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, my assumption is that she probably would sound like she has a harder job. Because it's kind of only the best get. So it's a common position.
I guess the tour guide's kind of like the top tier job there, so it makes kind of sense. I guess. See, like I'm a manager at my job, but where I work at, I know manager means like I have the least amount of money and respect, so yeah. But I guess it's different other workplaces. She then went on SNL, and during her monologue, she did address it. And kind of like made a little joke about it. Hee hee ha ha, that kind of thing.
While I'm up here, I do want to talk about some stuff I've seen about me online. Like, I once said that I used to work at Universal Studios, and then someone online accused me of lying about that, which is insane. If I didn't work there, how would I know all of the Universal characters, like Shrock, the Munions, and Harry Potter?
I think that she maybe did work at Universal. I'm not going to discount that. I just don't think she was a tour guide. That's okay. We all pad our resume. That's completely normal. If somebody asks me later on, I might say, like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. I've made like 3 videos in the past, 5, 10 years. I'm a YouTuber. Yeah. Yeah. but you don't need to know what I actually do. I really just think it's like something like quirky and fun to say, like when it comes to the PR of it all. Like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I like worked at Universal Studios. Like it's a fun like acting job, like humble beginning, but it's also like, oh, it's like kind of in the business. It makes sense, you know? Also, she went to Universal a lot, you know, kind of also makes sense. Meh, let women lie a little bit more. Who cares? Ah. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you had a good time looking back on past lies, drama, whatever, silly nonsense that I find interesting. It's so fun to discuss with you guys. I hope you enjoy. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I hope to be giving you more content like this. I'm having a really good time getting back into making videos, and I hope to keep bringing you more. Until the next one, I will see you guys later. If you'll excuse me, I have to go to my other job. My completely real job. My sometimes kind of real job. I swear it's real, okay? God, ah. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Did you hear that Sydney Sweeney may have lied about being a Universal Studios tour guide? Universal Studios gives tours of their historic backlot with funny tour guides. And Sydney Sweeney's like one of the most famous actresses right now. She was in Euphoria movies. And in a recent issue of Women's Health, she said that she conducted tours at Universal. Well, when Kelly Clarkson sat down with her, she was really weird when she asked her about it. And then Sean Evans asked her what her favorite part was, and she didn't even really answer the question. So suddenly, and without warning, Universal's tour guides are shooting down the claims and accusing her of lying. Now, I don't think this is the most offensive lie ever told or anything, but it's certainly one of the weirdest ones.